Hey, what's up? My name is Daniela and welcome to a new video. So today I'm doing a very exciting tag, and that is the anti-TBR tag. This tag was created by the channel Nicole and her books, so I will link the video in the description. And recently I saw a few people did it, most recently Victoria from What Victoria Read, so I will also link her video in the description. So the idea behind this tag is pretty straightforward. So it's the opposite of a TBR, so we're talking about books and authors we're not interested in, and I think this is a very, useful thing to do. Not only to like spill some tea or whatever, but also, to get to know yourself better as a reader and to realize like what you don't want to read, and then, go from there and realize what you want to read more of maybe. So yeah, I really like this idea. So without further ado, let's look at the questions. Question number 1 is a popular book that everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And I have to say a book that is like wildly loved on BookTube, and I think most people really love it, and that's SCRIBD by Madeline Miller. So basically a lot of people on BookTube really love mythology and mythology based books, but I have to say I was never really that interested in mythology and related topics. So for that reason this book isn't really that appealing to me. And then I heard some people that, the few people that didn't love it say that, it's maybe pretty slow or dense, I don't know. So yeah, it's just not that appealing to me. Like even The Song of Achilles, which is another book by this author, I'm not that interested in, although like it has a dramatic romance in it, so I could like it, but still, I'm just not drawn to it. Question number 2 is a classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. And so I looked at the authors, some lists of classic authors, and I realized that a lot of the authors I have read at least one book from, because I studied English and I read a lot of classics in high school and in college. So like there aren't that many authors that I haven't tried. But I have to say Charles Dickens, I have only read A Christmas Carol by him. And although some of the books in college were like mandatory, like Great Expectations, I read like 10 pages of Great Expectations, yeah. So, and even Christmas Carol, like the story is great, I like the story. I, for example, liked a retelling of that story, The Afterlife of Holly Chase. But like the Christmas Carol itself was quite a drag. Like I dragged myself through it, I didn't enjoy myself. Like you can really tell that, he really had to write a lot of words to get paid more. And it's just like, yeah, language, it's a slog. So yeah, I don't see myself reading more of Charles Dickens, although like never say never, but yeah, that's one author that his writing I really didn't click with. Question number 3 is an author whose books you have no interest in reading. So I have a couple here. So again, there are a lot of authors that maybe I have tried once and now I will not read again. But some authors I will probably never read again, and I have never read from them, are Judy Picoult. Just like the genre she writes, or just like the vibe of her books, the plots that I know of, just are really off-putting for me. It's not like she's super popular on my corner of BookTube either, so I often don't hear about her for a long time. But yeah, I don't think I will be picking up her books. And then from authors that are really super popular on BookTube, or at least with the people I watch, is Samantha Shannon. So I was never like super intrigued by the Bone season. It's just not appealing to me, and the Priory of the Orange Trees like also doesn't seem very intriguing for me. So yeah, like with this author it's possible that I will read something from her in the future, but it's not super likely. And then there's part 2 for the third question, and that is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. So there are a few of them. So first I want to mention an author who's not mentioned super often as a problematic author, I think, but yeah, I think we need to talk about it more, and that's Hanya Yanagihara. So that's the author of A Little Life and a couple of more books. So I haven't read A Little Life, I will never read it, and if you're not sure why the book is problematic, I highly recommend 2 videos that talked about it. One is by Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and the other one is by Hannah from A Clockwork Reader. So I will link those videos in the description. Definitely check them out if you're interested in reading A Little Life, or if you think it's the best book ever. Then we have 2 more authors. So the second one is TJ Klune. Again, his books are super popular on BookTube, and I don't have a video to recommend, but basically there was some controversy with like how he chose the topic for his the House of the Silurian Sea, and you know how he talked about it, etc. So yeah, I'm just kind of not drawn to his books anymore. Not that I was super interested to read like this one or the one with the dead guy. And then another author I won't be reading is Philip Pullman. So he is well known and beloved on BookTube, mainly for his Dark Materials series, which is a children's fantasy series. And you know, I don't think I've ever heard about it like before I joined BookTube, so I didn't read it. I don't have any nostalgia connected to his books. And then I saw, you know, him being active on Twitter and tweeting some really questionable things about trans people, and I'm just not drawn to his books like at all. Like, the question is like, why would I be reading you know, fantasy by old white guys with problematic or like questionable presence on social media when I can read books by authors who aren't openly problematic, you know? Then the next question is an author you have read a couple of books from and have decided their books are not for you. And funnily enough, the authors I wrote down are also a bit problematic, but like, we don't have to talk about it anymore. Like, even like without all of that, I have read a couple of their books and I have decided that they are not for me. And the authors are Colleen Hoover. So I have read Ugly Love and I have read Verity. I won't be reading her books anymore. Then we have Sarah J. Maas. I have really enjoyed some of her books. I haven't been intrigued by her latest releases. I don't think I will be continuing with the series. Again, like, never say never. But yeah, might be done with her as an author. And then we also have Stephen King. Also, I have read a few books. They are not for me. And the last one is Brandon Sanderson. Also a bit problematic. And I've really loved The Final Empire, but I don't think I will be continuing with the series or reading more of his books. Like, I'm just not interested anymore, I don't think. You know, it might happen, but probably not. Then question number 5 is a genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. So there's one genre that I just can't do, and that's horror. I haven't read that many horror books. With movies, I just can't do horror, and with books, it's still like way too much, and way too much I don't want. So yeah, I have read like Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I didn't enjoy myself. Like, I can't stand body gore, I don't like jump scares, and you know, I still get like some of these things in thrillers, which is a genre I read sometimes. But like with horror, like, I'm already anxious, like I don't want to be scared more, you know? Like, I get the appeal, and there are a few books that would be intriguing to me, like Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. That sounds really intriguing, but I just can't bring myself to read it because it's a horror and I'm scared of the horror elements. So yeah, unfortunately, horror is just not for me. I might be able to like stomach some light horror or a book that has just some horror elements, but it's definitely not a genre that, you know, I'm reaching for, because it's not giving me what I want and need. Quite the opposite. Question number 6 is a book you have bought but will never read. So it doesn't happen all the time. It happens very rarely that I buy a book and I end up not reading it. Like, after I've done like major unhauls in the, you know, like 3 or 5 years ago. Nowadays I usually only buy books that I want to read. But a couple of years back I have picked up Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and I think it was like a secondhand bookstore or something, and it was the case that I went somewhere and I really wanted to buy something and they had nothing more intriguing, so I just picked this one up. But then it sat on my shelves for some time. It's like a dystopia with Shakespeare, and it's like, you know, maybe I'm scarred from like Brave New World, but it just didn't seem too appealing to me. I guess it was the case of like a lot of people loving it on BookTube, and I wanted to be that girly that, you know, will enjoy it, and then I will just like, maybe not. Question number 7 is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started and have DNF'd. So I'm just going to say the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb, because I have been quite hyped for it. You know, a lot of people love it. They say it's amazing. I started reading The Assassin's Apprentice. I was so bored, like I couldn't get through it. Like I made it maybe to page 90 and like it was a feat. It was so hard to even get there. And I just had to DNF it because incredibly dense, like the world building wasn't gripping my attention. I believe you that it gets really amazing maybe like when Fitz is older and I don't know, you learn about other characters, but yeah, I just wasn't physically able to get through it. That was a clear sign, I think, that the author is not for me. And people say it's like the worst book or like the least enjoyable one, but that's unfortunate because like if you had this experience, like why would I try another book by her, you know? And then the last question is a new release you have no interest in reading. And I had a hard time coming up with an answer to this question because I was going through some new releases and the books were either by authors I'm not interested in, you know, a lot of which I mentioned earlier, or like books I've never heard of. So from the like very popular books that are really hyped on BookTube right now, I would say I'm not interested in The Adventures of Amina Al-Sifari by S.A. Chakraborty. So yeah, I think it's like a adventure pirate book and it just doesn't seem appealing to me at all. I'm not saying I will absolutely never read it, like it's totally possible I would read it, but yeah, from the new releases I've looked into, this one is like one that's really hyped and I'm just not interested in at the moment. So yeah, that was the anti-TBR tag. I have no idea who have done this tag, but if you want to do this tag, feel free to do it. Let me know if you agree with me or if you vehemently disagree with me. Like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to me in the comments and I will see you next time. Bye!